Welcome to our second show, BrosKnow, entertainment talk from Middle Earth. I am one half of your host, Eric.
I'm Gavin. How are you? Good to see you.
Right, well, it's good to see you back for our second show. On the show today, we have a whole lot of stuff to cover. What's our movie news today, Gavin?
In our movie news, we got Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. We got a lawsuit for the movie Lockout, which came out in 2012, with some Game of Thrones info. Information about a director named Ava DuVenay. And we got the weekly box office and the new releases as well.
Also today on our show, we've got our Suicide Squad spoiler-free review. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I know Gavin has. So make sure you look out for that. Also, our top 5 New Zealand movies. That's me first and Gavin second. Cool. And last of all, but not least, will be Clash of the Geeks. If you remember last week's show, ooh, Gavin was 3-2 up on me. This is a monthly thing, so we're going to keep on adding our scores together.
Yeah, and I'm not proud about that. The threes, but
yeah. It's, but then we're going to look for a bit more consistency in our questions, and we're going to be drawing from our entertainment box very soon. So that way we won't be trying to dupe each other with some really, really hard ones.
Sure.
Okay, well, let's move on to the show. Gavin, can you take us through our movie news?
So, first up is with the release of the new Harry Potter and the Curse of the Child book by J.K. Rowling, which is based on the play, the very successful play. J.K. Rowling has announced that this will be the last in the series. There will be no more Harry Potter stories. It's finished. However, there still is the Beasts and Where to Find Them stories. So, Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them stories. So, yeah, so that's the first one. Next, so what happened? There was Luc Besson was the screenwriter. He released a movie called Lockout, starring Guy Pearce and Maggie Grace in 2012. It's a good sci-fi flick. Guy Pearce is a really funny character in that. But John Carpenter and many others saw this movie and they felt, well, this storyline's a little too close to Escape from New York. So he took out a plagiarism lawsuit against Luc Besson and the production company, and won that just recently, and was awarded 500,000 American. But the connotations, the consequences, of that winning that lawsuit could be huge for other movies coming down the line.
Okay.
Next up, we got Game of Thrones. So there's actually a couple of announcements around Game of Thrones. Season 7, they've announced that, this has been out for a little while. Season 7 have announced that there will only be 7 episodes in that. And that will not be airing probably until America's summer next year, so around June, July sort of time. And of course that needs to happen because they need to wait, because winter is here, so they need to wait for winter to film. So because they're filming at a later time, it's not going to be aired till a later time. Yeah, I think they start production around September and end around February, so then you got post-production at least 5 months. So I'm guessing around June, July. Yeah, but probably the bigger news, I think, is that they have announced that there will only be 8 seasons. So after season 7, season 8, and that will be it. So the story will end after 8 seasons. Kind of sad.
It's got to come to an end eventually.
Yeah, indeed. And the last of our news picks are director Ava DuVenay is the first woman of colour to be given a $100 million movie. Now, you may know her from such movies as Selma, which is the movie by Martin Luther King, about Martin Luther King, 2014. She also did another movie, Middle of Nowhere, which is a good movie actually. I think she won the best director at Sundance for that movie. That's 2005. Now, the movie she will be directing is a Disney production, and it is a book I've never heard of called A Wrinkle in Time. It's a franchise. It's one of these young adult sci-fi fantasy things.
Right.
So they're hoping, I guess, this is going to be the next Hunger Games. Yeah, but this is a major thing. Yeah, because there's only been a couple other women, let alone a woman of colour, who've had movies of this.
It's a massive budget.
Yeah. So those are items. What do you want to talk about?
Well, gee, you've covered a lot of them quite well, but probably the one that needs more discussion is the Lockout decision. This certainly has ramifications for a lot of the different movies out there. I watched Lockout. It certainly has the premise of breaking into a maximum security prison and taking someone out of that is similar to Escape from New York. But other than that, I didn't really find any similarities.
Yeah, I mean, it's instead of the president, he's getting the president's daughter, I guess. But yeah, when I first saw that movie, before I even knew any of this stuff, it reminded me of Escape from New York. But I didn't sit there and say, "Oh my God, they just stole the script from Escape from New York and made this movie."
Certainly, as I said, the premise is similar.
Yeah.
The way he does it, the actual hero himself, he's a typical anti-hero, but he comes more off as a hero at the end, as opposed to Snake Plissken, who's destroys the hope for the free world at the end.
Snake Plissken is just like total badass. He's a wisecracking, very different type of character.
Yeah. So I found that interesting. Certainly there are many other movies out there that have similar plots to the most famous movie that has a plot that is certainly well known and very similar to some other stories out there, of course, is Avatar.
Yeah.
I mean, people have talked about how that's a rip-off of Ferngully and of Pocahontas.
Yep.
But I guess the difference with those is that they're very old stories. I don't know whether they could, the producers, writers of those stories could
Well, I mean, everybody takes from other movies. I mean, those are their inspirations, and they take from these movies. I mean, how many people have copied Akira Kurosawa's movies? You know?
Yeah, of course.
Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven. Maybe someone should give him a bit of cash for that.
So I mean, George Lucas, he probably owes quite a few people a lot of money if they were to take it that far. George Lucas definitely said that he took his inspiration from Akira Kurosawa for his robots, C-3PO and R2-D2. But that's a franchise that's worth billions of dollars. James Cameron is just about to finish Avatar 2 and 3. Is there going to be someone waiting around the corner expecting a big fat check from James Cameron?
Yeah, well, I think that's the most interesting thing about the decision. It opens the floodgates potentially for a lot of people to be taking guys to court.
Yeah.
Or somebody decided, I don't know who wrote Flash Gordon, or whoever the people who own the rights to Flash Gordon decided to take George Lucas to court. Jesus, the potential for cash there is huge. And maybe you would just try, because the potential for cash is huge.
You know, one thing I did notice about that movie was especially prevalent in the credits. At the beginning, it says inspired from an original idea from Luc Besson.
Yeah,
and maybe that's what gets John Carpenter.
Yeah, I did rewatch it, and it seemed a little bit in your face.
It's like, this was my idea. But I think that if those credits weren't there, then John Carpenter would not have minded so much. But it basically said Luc Besson said, this is my idea. No one has ever had this idea ever before.
Perhaps that was the thing. Maybe he took a little personal that they didn't give him credit. And it wouldn't be the first time that's happened to John Carpenter, I have to say.
Okay. Did you have anything that you wanted to discuss?
Look, I think it's really important you talk about Ava DuVenay and what this means. It's been a long time, probably too long. Even by her own comments, she's it's been too long. There's certainly been capable directors out there to take on these big projects. But I mean, prior to Ava DuVenay, there's only been two other women who have had $100 million budgets in movies. First was Catherine Bigelow. She did K-19, Widowmaker.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they got a little scared because K-19 didn't do well.
No.
It didn't do well. But then, there have been plenty male directors who have had bombs and still gotten chances afterwards. I don't think you just close up the bank because
So I guess
doesn't turn out.
Catherine Bigelow would have gotten that on the back of the Hurt Locker.
No. That was that's kind of like her finger up to them, quite frankly, because that was, I think it was something like early 2000s.
That's a lot of money in
Yeah.
the early 2000s.
And then she came out with Hurt Locker, and of course the other one. I forget the name of the movie. The one about Osama bin Laden when they.
Oh yeah.
Zero Dark 30.
Yeah.
So. And the other one is only recently, Patty Jenkins, who is helming the new Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman movie. Yeah, I didn't know about her.
Yeah.
Yeah, because unfortunately those superhero movies, they don't come cheap. So if you're going to helm one of those, then they're going to be quite expensive.
And it's quite right that it's a female character, so obviously you should have someone to understand female to direct that.
Excellent.
So it's. I guess it's coming around. Probably not as quickly as it should, but it's getting there. So it's significant. And,
Sure, right. A woman and a woman of colour. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Certainly strides being made in the world of movies. Okay, let's move on to our weekly box offices.
Right. So in the American box office, domestic, no surprises. Jason Bourne is number one at 59,215,000. Star Trek Beyond, significant drop at 24,754,000. Bad Mums, which is tracking pretty well, 23,817,000. Secret Life of Pets at 18,915,000. And Ice Age still sticking in there. Collision Course with 10,988,000.
Interesting. Moving on.
At the New Zealand box office, we have Jason Bourne on top again at 835,108. Again, a similar drop for Star Trek Beyond, 216,322. Ghostbusters is at 128,131. Lights Out, first week in New Zealand, I believe, is at 113,544. And BFG still sticking in there at 107,331.
A couple of points there. There is no more animated movies in the New Zealand box office.
Yeah, that's right.
Sweet.
Yeah, end of the school holidays.
School holidays, and a significant drop with Star Trek Beyond in both the US and in New Zealand.
Yeah, over 60%, which surprises me because it's a good movie.
Both rated it quite well.
Yeah. I think it's going at about 80 on Rotten Tomatoes. So I have a theory about that, actually. There's you and I talked about this before. There's a fan-made movie called Star Trek Exeter. And if you can get a taste of it on YouTube. You have a look at it. It looks damn good. And I think Paramount were like, oh, okay, this is a bit better than a fan-made movie, because fan-made movies, quite frankly, look like fan-made movie. This one looks like a real production.
I did see that. They were doing their startup thing at the moment, at that point in time, and they were asking for fan contributions.
Yeah,
but
they've gotten them. They've got more than that.
The special effects in that little pre-production movie were, frankly, better than some of the movies you see out there.
Yeah.
They were very good.
Even the talent they got involved with the movies, these are like real actors.
Yeah,
These
Tony
are not
Todd.
like fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always enjoyed him in movies. Tony Todd, he's actually played a Klingon in Star Trek.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
this time he's playing a Federation. I suppose he's playing a Federation admiral, the admiral that turns things around. And they've got some really good talent. They've got Richard Hack from Battlestar fame, both the new and old series. And what's the name of the lady?
Kate Vernon.
Kate Vernon,
Yeah.
also from BSG. So they've got some top class people lined up for this, and you're right, it looks much better than a fan made movie, but
Yeah.
bit of backlash.
I look. I don't know. I'm just thinking. Because I've been following it, because that's a movie I want to watch, right?
Yeah.
And some of the fan comments, they've sort of gone and watched the movie. But these hardcore fans, they're the ones who are going to go watch Star Trek 3-4 times, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening. They're not going back. They watched it. It was all right. But fuck you. I think that's the attitude.
Yeah. Well, Paramount may pay for that in their next movies, so that's certainly something that we'll be keeping an eye on, because we do enjoy the Star Trek movies.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else there?
No. That's about me.
Okay, then let's move on. Movies out this week. Okay. The one, of course, is Poirier,
Yeah.
the story of our song. And for those of you who have been living under a rock, Poirier was a massive hit in 1980s.
Everyone knows Poirier. Come on.
Yeah. It was one of the first songs, possibly the first song, to be a number one in New Zealand in Te Reo.
It's the only song. Only Māori song to be...
Yeah, I think even the bridge, of course, it had English in it. So,
fully Māori.
yeah, fully Te Reo. So, and it was a fantastic song. But, of course, Suicide Squad, you've got a bit to say about that a bit later, Gavin.
Yeah, we'll save that for the. That's the one I saw this weekend.
Yeah.
And we'll save that for the review.
Let's rip straight into it. I'm sure a few people have been looking forward to this. Your review of Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. Yeah, this is an interesting movie because of some of the reviews that have been on it. I love this movie. I thought it was great. I think you got to take it as what it is. It's an action movie, and some of the reviews that have come out against it have been pretty interesting. To say, "Oh, I don't like this," and "I don't like that." There has been some similarities in it, but I do feel a lot of the critics have gone in with with views about it. They've had thoughts of, this is what we think this movie should be, instead of just going in there and just letting it happen. So just to understand the movie a little bit better, so it's even David Ayer. So he sort of based this movie on Dirty Dozen. Yeah.
Dirty Dozen, yeah.
And it even starts off like that. So in the start of Dirty Dozen movie, they start off with the dossiers of what these bad guys, and they go through the folder, and they talk about who this person is and who, what they've done and that kind of thing. They do the same sort of thing in this movie, except it's expanded a bit. So they sort of flash back and show what actually happened, and I think they tie in the DC universe really well into this movie. What they do is they So they show up. So like people like Harley Quinn and Deadshot. If you don't know these characters, you don't know the comics, then they're part of Batman's rogues gallery. They're bad guys in his stories, right? So it's only right that Batman, catches these people and puts them in jail, and that's how he is involved in this movie. Yeah, and it's done really well, because you could just have like Batman sitting in the background, hello, I'm Batman, see, we're in the DC universe. No, it makes sense, and it's a part of the story, because that's who they are. There's another character in there called Captain Boomerang, and he's a part of Flash's rogues gallery.
Yeah.
And so what happened was there was some late filming around there. I think it was only like a month or so ago. And they put those little bits where Flash catches this Captain Boomerang character and throws him in prison, which is right, because he's the one who should do it. So it fits really well. And apparently the reason they did it at this time, it was a part of the plan, that because they're filming Justice League, so they have the costume, they have everything in place, and that's why it was filmed at this late time. Yeah. Because a lot of the questions were, there's troubles with it, so they're doing these late reshoots and all this sort of stuff. No, it just fit, and it was a part of their plan. So,
so what you're saying is they weren't forced like they...
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
so,
it flowed really well. It introduced these characters into the DC universe, but it wasn't overtly. It flowed very well.
Like they were actually meant to be part of the
exactly.
story.
Yeah.
Like the origin story.
It made sense that that's how you got to know these characters.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay then. Yeah.
Another character who's involved in this is the Joker, and I really like Jared Leto's version of the Joker. It's a bit of a mixture of both. He doesn't copy those; he makes it his own, and I like that. I know a lot of the critics some have really liked him, some haven't liked him. Again, I think that's a very personal view. He acts very well in that role, right. And it's either you like it or you don't like it, I guess. But it's a very personal thing. So, I'm not sure about critics' responses in that regard. So, and of course, a lot of people's comments about it, some of the negative views is, we should have had more Joker in the movie. It's not his movie. The only reason he's involved in this movie is because he's intrinsic to Harley Quinn's story. That's right, yeah. So her origin story comes through him.
So once again, it's not forced. He's there because he's a part of the background story.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it gives him... There's a lot more to it than just that. It also highlights the relationship they have really well. Yeah. And I think it was a really good introduction. Would I have liked more of them? Yeah, absolutely, because they were awesome. But it's not his movie, so it was fine. I was
definitely... I mean, if you want someone to take down the Joker... You probably want Batman to take down the Joker. So
yeah. I mean, it would have been just he's not sort of in the story in that vein, but just some of that Joker flavor would have been more of that Joker flavor would have been cool. But I think then it would start becoming okay. Is he in this movie or not? Because he's not a part of the squad, right? Yeah. So
fantastic.
Yeah. So a couple of the comments again was that. I think when you refer back to like the Dirty Dozen, so they introduce each other, and then in the next part of the Dirty Dozen movie, they have that time where they're spending together, and that's something that this movie maybe doesn't do particularly well. I was okay with it. There was so much to like about it that I was fine with it. It flowed okay with me. So that time where they bond together and become a team, it probably could have used a bit more time with that. Yeah.
But was it a long movie?
No, it's not a long movie. But I mean, some of these things you're talking about, you add another 15 minutes, and I think probably that's fine. Yeah. So a lot of some of the other comments, which I fear is probably about the bad guy, the adversary here, wasn't developed well enough. You got a character named Enchantress and Ric Flair, who sort of runs the Suicide Squad or leads the Suicide Squad, if you like. And that Rick Flag, sorry.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, the wrestler, is in this movie. And he's awesome. And so that relationship mattered a lot, and that needed to be developed more. And I think the third act would have been much better because you would have cared a bit more about it. Yeah.
So the bad guy wasn't that great?
There was some weirdness to it, I have to admit. Bad guy was cool, but then there was some weirdness to that. I'm not gonna get into it too much because I'll let you watch it. But there's some scenes in there from the Enchantress that you see there and say, "Oh yeah, this character looks awesome." I want to watch more of her, and I don't think they fleshed that out enough. Maybe in David Ayer's cut they did. But it's certainly in this one, not enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Another character which was really done really well was Diablo. You really felt for that character, and these are not nice people, and you understood that from that character.
He's not a character that I'm familiar with. He's certainly not one of the mainstream baddies that I'm familiar with. But
Diablo's like a pyro guy.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful pyro guy. Yeah, and really good story to it, and it really gave some emotional content to the story as well.
It sounds like all this would take some time to tell the story of each person. I understand why they would only be able to perhaps devote the time for the bigger characters. Maybe not so much for the lesser characters.
Yeah, look, I think they did enough. There could have been more, but they did enough for you to like the characters. Deadshot was played really well by Will Smith.
Will Smith, yep.
Yeah. Harley Quinn was played really well.
Right.
These are characters that you wanted to follow, and so you were on board with it. So there may be little problems in between it, but you're okay. You're on board. At least I was, and I so it sort of overrides what I think a lot of these critics were quite picky in some of their comments.
So you mentioned Captain Boomerang, played by Jai Courtney.
Yeah.
For some reason, he seems to get quite a lot of stick, but you were happy with his performance?
Yeah, he fit this role really well. There could have been a little bit more with him, but I was happy with what I had. Yeah, so, could it have been better? Sure. But it's a good movie, and it certainly does not earn the 29, I think it's sitting there on Rotten Tomatoes at the moment.
Yeah. Many people believe that there's a DC conspiracy.
Yeah.
I don't know whether that's true. And I know that critics aren't, some critics aren't out there to be mean to these movies, but I do believe that there are possibly some critics out there who don't understand these movies.
Yeah.
You said this was a big action movie, a comic book action movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are ready for those movies.
Well, I mean, if I liken it to Marvel, it's sort of their Thor, if you like, in terms of, because Thor is pretty much like an action flick. It's not espionage or anything like a Captain America or something like that. Yeah, they don't do it as well as bring this team together, and it certainly doesn't flow as well as like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is, I guess, this is their version of that. But it's still a lot of fun and totally worth watching.
Okay.
And certainly doesn't deserve the hate it's getting.
So you've got quite a lot of positives in there. You've touched on a couple of the negatives, but do you want to flesh out more of those negatives?
Yeah, just before I get to the negatives, I just want to mention the performance of Viola Davis, who plays Waller. Amanda Waller. And that is a great performance. So Amanda Waller is the person who brings the team together, and yeah, she is badass. She's just straight up. She's probably the worst of the lot of them, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah. Okay.
I mean, we're talking about psychos and murderers and things, but what makes her so dangerous is she believes she's doing the right thing, and she would do anything to achieve her goal, you know. She's just, you're watching this movie, she's a fucking bitch, man. Damn.
Sociopaths do believe that they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so negatives.
Yeah, so negatives. Some of the negatives are, unlike the Dirty Dozen movie, what this movie probably didn't do well enough is that, so in the first scenes of the Dirty Dozen, you have them, and then you have them together sort of training, right? And so you don't see a lot of this bonding process of this team. All of a sudden, somehow they just get together and they're okay with it. So I understand how people would see that as a weakness in the movie.
Yeah.
But quite frankly, I enjoyed it so much, I didn't care. It was just fun. I just want to see more of them. Okay, that could have been fleshed out a bit more, maybe in David Ayer's cut. That is fleshed out more. But, that was okay for me. I think the biggest problem with the story is definitely the third act, the final bad guy thing. It didn't work out well. So anyway, the final battle between the bad guy. So you got a character. Her name is Enchantress, who's originally a part of the squad. Yeah, and she's in a relation, or the human version of her is in a relationship with
Rick Flag.
Yeah. And that's what they didn't flesh out enough, I think. They didn't, you didn't get to, I'd say like a movie like Deadpool, right? Where you got really invested in the relationship between Deadpool and his missus, and that was the driving force of that movie. And they didn't do that enough in this movie, I think. So by the time you, at the end, you sort of think, well, it's really just it becomes the bad guy in Dark World, Thor, McKellith. Whatever his name is anyway. The forgettable one, played by Christopher Eccleston, who's awesome. Yeah. But anyway, and that's what happens. It's like, you're not as invested as you want to be. Malekith. And it is a little bit choppy. What? Malekith, yeah. So, and that's probably the thing, the worst part of it. But in the end, it's a fun movie, and if you're having enough fun with the movie, it's going to push you through that. Yeah. What I found, because when I watched the movie, that was great. I thought that was awesome. And so I watched a lot of reviews, and a lot of the reviews, there was some consistency in terms of the bad guy, the relationship, Rick Flag, and Enchantress, and that kind of stuff. But it was all very sort of, I didn't like this, I didn't, because I didn't feel this way. So I wonder if people went into it thinking something, or having a view of this movie before they went into it. It certainly does not deserve the rating it has.
So we're talking about the rating on Rotten Tomatoes, aren't we?
Yeah.
Where's it sitting at the moment?
I think it's around 29, something like that.
29%. Boy, these DC movies are getting a hammering on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's a better movie than that. It really is. Yeah. I don't think it's as good as Batman v Superman.
Are you talking about the theatrical cut or the ultimate cut?
Even the theatrical cut as a movie, it's more epic in scale, and it's just it's a better told story. It's hard to watch.
Oh gosh,
it's hard to watch, but it's just the two totally different things, right? It's like comparing a drama to Arnold Schwarzenegger or something.
Okay, so it is, because you are correct in that the story in Batman v Superman is more dramatic. Yeah. But this is just a pure action comic book movie.
Yeah, exactly. And it doesn't try to be anything else. Sure, it could have done things but better. It could have brought the team together better.
Yeah.
It should have highlighted the story between Rick Flag and sorry, Rick Flag and
Yeah.
Chantress.
Yeah.
And then it would have meant more at the end. You know?
Okay, so you're suggesting, because people weren't too happy with the bad guy in Batman v Superman, Lex Luthor, have DC started the tradition of comic book movies of screwing the pooch when it comes to bad guys? Marvel have been accused of that.
It's a different reason than Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor, it's hard to understand where he's coming from. I mean, it seems like that he has issues with his dad and some God complex thing, but you still don't. Okay, why is the smartest guy in the world don't have an out? You know, I don't understand. Where's your thinking here?
Yeah.
You know? And there was the same thing with Batman. Okay, why is he just up killing people? I don't get it. You need to explain that to me. Okay, that's the character you have. Fine. Why? I need to know.
Yeah.
And those were and that didn't change in the Ultimate Cut or anything.
Okay.
That's as I mentioned, Malakath. It's more like that. That it's just not fleshed out enough, and they have the opportunity to do that, but it's not. I guess this would be in terms of the Marvel parallel. This is the Guardians of the Galaxy, right? And they didn't do it as well as Guardians of the Galaxy, but it was good.
It was a good movie.
It was a good movie. It's an enjoyable movie,
Okay.
and it's a movie I'm going to watch a number of times.
Okay, I will go out and watch this movie. I was going to go out and watch this movie, whatever the review said.
Yeah.
So I will go see it, but just haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Your rating so far, I can't give you my rating because I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But what's your rating after your first viewing?
Yeah, look, I'll say one thing before that is that when you go, just go and watch it. Don't have any preconceived notions.
Yeah.
Don't think, because you know the material. Don't say, well, they better do that or they better do that. Just go in and watch it, you know.
So
and just say, I
it's
want to have
just
some
pure, unadulterated. So it's more like a Commando Schwarzenegger movie.
It's better than that. No, it's
So it's
not
just
just straight up
mindless
action.
action. Okay,
No,
so-
it's better than that. But you got to take it in that sort of vein.
So is it a Predator Terminator movie?
No, I would more liken it to like a Thor type movie. Where,
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 5. It does have some problems.
7 out of 10?
7.5 out of 5. Sorry.
Out of 10.
Out of 10. Sorry. Yeah.
7.5 out of 10.
Yeah. So I think the Ultimate Cut I gave 8. It's not as good as that.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's a movie that I will have multiple viewings of, and I'll be quite happy to do so.
Yeah. So, right here from Gavin, 7.5 out of 10.
Does not deserve the rating of Geeks.
That is a pretty good rating, and certainly Gavin recommends that you watch it for yourself. Don't believe those reviews, because I got to say that there's a bit of DC negativity on Rotten Tomatoes.
Well, I don't want to be conspiracy, and say, you're into DC and all that shit. But I think people went into it with very specific ideas of what it was going to be. Instead of just going in there and saying, okay, I'm going to watch this movie.
Okay. Before we finish that off, I know that you've finished a review. I got to know, Will Smith, did you enjoy his performance?
Yeah, he was great in this movie. I think there was always the danger that it's going to be a Will Smith movie.
Yeah.
No, he fit in really well. You
That's
had
good.
all the charisma of Will Smith. You had all the acting prowess of Will Smith, but it wasn't, look at me, it's Will Smith. And then everyone else is down there. Everyone had their time and it was all good.
Fantastic. I got a lot of time for Will Smith. I've really enjoyed his movie, so I'm looking forward to see some great Will Smith byplay, and he's got a way of talking to people. Okay, well, good stuff. Now we're going to move on to my top New Zealand movies, my top 5 New Zealand movies.
All right.
Last week Gavin went first, so I'm going to go first with my top 5. And then number 5 is Whale Rider. It is a fantastic New Zealand story. It had a very talented cast in it. Probably none more so than Keisha Castle Hughes, who got the Academy Award nomination for Best Actress.
Yeah.
Fantastic performance from her, from such a fresh young face. Of course, it had a small amount of Cliff Curtis, but he's definitely one of New Zealand's best actors going around. I actually put him up there with Kyle Urban. Certainly a fantastic actor. He's still doing TV. He seems to be the type of guy that can play any ethnic character. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Any brown character, Cliff Curtis is your man.
I think in his movies he's actually shown himself. It doesn't mean that Kyle Urban isn't able to, but he hasn't had those roles.
Yeah.
But he's certainly shown himself to be more versatile than Kyle Urban.
Definitely. Okay, so and then moving into my number 4, Mount Zion. I bet you didn't see that coming. Now, this is not one of the bigger movies in New Zealand. I guess, to be honest, I'm a real Stan Walker fan. But I just enjoyed the nice small story that at the end got a big surprise with some special effects, bringing back one of the true classic singers of any era, Bob Marley. And the way they inserted him into the film was just fantastic. I hope that wasn't a spoiler for someone, but anyway, that's something for you to look forward to.
I think there's a limit on that. Come on. It's like 3 years old now. You get 2 years old, I guess, about 2014.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. You had enough time to watch it.
So, Mount Zion, it's a great New Zealand story. It's a small story. It doesn't need to be very big in scope, but I think Stan Walker gives a fantastic performance in that.
Yeah.
And of course, Timuela Morrison is in that movie. He plays a fantastic role as his dad, much different from his more famous role. And my number 3 movie.
Boy.
Yeah. Taika Waititi. Now he's going places. And Boy is the movie that probably helped him get some of the work that he's getting now. He's obviously working on the Thor Ragnarok movie.
Yeah.
And I know that Chris Hemsworth did say that he watched Eagle vs. Shark.
Yeah.
I think was the movie that he watched, and he really enjoyed it.
Okay.
Yeah. So he there was actually the movie before Boy, but Boy, another great New Zealand movie. It's about a small town, East Coast New Zealand, where Taika's from. Really enjoyable main character, Ralston. He does a great job, and just a bit of a story behind that. He basically got the job more like a week before the shooting started. Yeah. So he's just oozes talent and confidence. That was a great New Zealand movie. I thoroughly enjoy watching that whenever I do, and I've watched that many times. Okay, my number 2 movie, of course, the Once Were Warriors. It is. It's not the type of movie that you jump up and punch your fist in the air with glee, but it's a story that needs to be told.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic. It is gut wrenching. It really gets you going. The emotional roller coaster that you go through. You see this guy, Jake the Muss, the way he interacts with his family. He goes from good to bad to just an absolute monster.
Yeah.
He goes through a journey. I know he goes through a journey later on in the next part. But Beth, the kids, and Jake. It's a really interesting story. It's gut wrenching. It's obviously,
It's best story. Yeah.
But it's a movie that people might see and think this is New Zealand, and this is definitely one part of New Zealand. But yeah, it's a story that needs to be told.
No, not at all. You want to hear a story?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when this movie came out, I was going to MIT, and a friend of mine who's Korean, he was in the course I was, a computer course, but he was also doing an ESOL course, and
English as a second language.
English as a second language, and he was told by his tutor, Pākehā woman.
Yeah.
He was told by his tutor, so part of their course, right, they've got to spend 20 hours with the indigenous culture Māori to understand their culture and get that will help them with English, I guess. But anyway, so that's part of the thing. And so she goes, go watch Once More Warriors. That will teach you about the Māori people. She said, go watch Once More Warriors. That will teach you about the Māori people. So that was a part of his 20 hours. And so he asked me to go with him.
Yeah.
And yeah, sure. Okay, something you need to know about this guy is he is extremely smart. He's like a quantum physicist or something, but his qualification doesn't mean anything in New Zealand, so he had to do an introductory computer course.
Yeah.
Anyway, crazy. So we went to this movie, and he sees this, and she cooked me some eggs, and boof! It's like, what the hell is this shit? But you know, he's a smart guy. He says, I don't think this is a movie about money. This is about people who have nothing, you know, who have issues, you know.
Yeah.
People from this type of demographic, and I say, yeah, man,
that's exactly right. May I ask you, the teacher that told him to go see this movie?
Oh, Jesus, I don't know who she is.
Was she Pākehā by chance?
Yeah, she was Pākehā.
Oh, dear. Okay.
He told me that.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, moving on. My number one movie is Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Now, I know this is considered by some not to be a real New Zealand movie, but as we discussed before, this has got a New Zealand director, many New Zealanders in the cast, production, special effects, they're all New Zealanders. Then the best thing about this movie is it showcases New Zealand itself in the scenery. The story is not New Zealand because it's J.R.R. Tolkien. But yeah, I couldn't go past this movie as our best movie. I've watched this a number of times. I'm not a huge fan of the fantasy. I wasn't a huge fan of the fantasy type stories before. That was until Game of Thrones came along. But certainly this gave me a really great introduction to fantasy novels, fantasy stories. It really is an epic movie.
Yeah.
And yes, definitely my number one.
Yeah. And the Dead Army, when they just run over all that is
powerful. Yeah, it's really really. Now this is a movie that you punch the air. Yeah.
We
Okay.
should have kept him for the last fight, but Aragorn's a nice fellow, I guess.
Right, Gavin, your top five.
My top five, okay. Look, I went a little bit different with my top five because I was pretty sure that our ones would be pretty similar. So what I decided to do was I go for 5 movies you should absolutely see. 5 movies that you may not have seen that are New Zealand movies. So and my number one is Came a Hot Friday, which is a 1985 movie by Ian Mune. It's set in just sort of like the early 50s, just after World War II, and what New Zealand was like at that time. So it follows a couple of con men who go around and get up to all these sorts of shenanigans and these kinds of things. The best thing about this movie is this is the one and only live action movies anyway, with Billy T. James in it, and he just crushes it. He's funny, he's great, and of course you get our uncle's in there singing one of my favourite songs. This is Prince Tuiteka sings Out of the Cold, which is one of my, actually is my favourite song. So this is a great movie. If you haven't seen it, go get it. You can download it on on New Zealand on Air, I think it is. They have their thing.
Yeah, they do. They have a movie site, and you can just you can take it straight from them.
Yeah.
I think it's pretty cheap too. Like
It is, yeah.
$3.99.
Yeah, to watch it, or you can actually download it and buy it. It's like
it.
$14 probably.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
So because they don't have video stores anymore, this is the way that you actually do it. You gotta get it online. Okay.
Yeah. My second one is Bad Taste. Now, Bad Taste is Peter Jackson's first movie. It is 1987. It is hilarious. It's basically a splatter movie. It's over the top, but it knows what it is. Okay, it knows that it's B splatter movie, over the top, stupid, fun, and that's all it claims to be. And it's great. There's actually quite a lot of Peter Jackson in this movie. He plays two roles in it, I think. And yeah, he does play two roles in it. So it's a lot of fun and definitely worth a watch. Some real stupid Kiwi humor.
I think that's it. It's got some really gory special effects created by his own team. Then it is over the top, and it's I think it makes fun of B movies.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's its point. Yeah. Okay, and next. Scarface. Now, Scarface is a movie that might have gone under the radar. Came out in 1999, and it's directed by Robert Sarkis. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce
his
name.
Yes.
And he hasn't done a lot of movies, but I kind of like his stuff. And we'll come to that later. But so Scarface is about. It starts off. You kind of think it's a comedy actually when you first watch it. It's a group of Otago
students,
college students, uni students, right? So you think, oh, you're going to watch these drunken idiots hang out in this place. But then it actually turns into a pretty tense thriller, sort of halfway through. Look, I won't say too much more than that, but it's certainly worth a watch. It's also the first thing I ever saw Taika Waititi at. But he, interestingly enough, he takes his mum's surname in this.
So he's acting in there, and not.
No, he's just an actor.
Yeah.
Okay, so number 2 is The Navigator. This is quite an old movie. Okay, well, it's not that old. 1988. Vincent Ward movie. It's very good, and it's very interesting. So it starts off in medieval times, the Black Plague, and there's this child who they believe is going to cure them, and so they go through this tunnel and they end up in modern times. Really interesting movie, different, very different, and certainly worth a watch. But I can't think of anything that was like it at the time.
No, a time travel movie.
Yeah.
New Zealand don't really do that.
I guess it's a Highlander, but it was very different to that.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay, and my last is Out of the Blue. So this is the second Robert Serkis movie.
Saki's, yeah.
Saki's movie on my list, and apparently he's only done about 3 of them anyway. But
now, those are 2 pretty good movies.
Yeah. This is a really good telling of the Aramoana tragedy in 1990. Kyle Urban is the cop, and Matthew Sunderland plays David Gray, and yeah, that great performance. So it really tells the story of this tragedy, but you understand that this is a sick guy too, so really good telling. One of the better performances I've seen from Kyle Urban. You see a lot of Kyle Urban's performances, he's the hero, or and that kind of tough guy. He's very vulnerable in this, and this is not anything he's prepared for. He doesn't know what to do really. So yeah, if you haven't seen any of the movies, I highly recommend you go out and rent, download, or on stream these movies.
Yeah, definitely. All these movies should be available on New Zealand website, New Zealand Film Commission website.
Film Commission, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one, yeah.
Except for probably Return of the King, which you could buy from most shops. Warehouse would have that one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be pretty easy to get.
Yeah.
But these are the real New Zealand movies, 9 out of 10 of them anyway, that tell New Zealand stories in ways that probably no one else can.
I know Out of the Blue did very well, so you could probably pick that up pretty much as well. But, yeah.
Okay, so there's some real variations in what we like. If you remember last week, our top 10s were pretty similar, but these ones, a little bit different. Right, okay, on to Clash of the Geeks. Just a reminder that Gavin is currently 3-2 up. This is going to go over a month, so probably about 4 weeks this month. And we will see who will come out on top. Will it be Gavin? Or will it be Eric? Probably me. Okay.
So you must be first. I went first, man.
Yes. I've got my questions written down once again.
Sweet.
Because I can't let you see what the answers are. Right, let's go. First question. Who was the first female movie monster? Who was the first female movie monster?
It's got to be Bride of Frankenstein.
Correct. That is one to Gavin. What 1985 movie did William Hurt win his Best Acting Oscar for?
1985?
1985. William Hurt recently in the Captain America Civil War. He got his first Academy Award and only Academy Award in 1985 for what movie?
1985. Think of what came out at that time.
It was quite some time ago.
That's way early, but I'm going to say Body Heat.
No, it was Kiss of the Spider Woman, starring Raul Julia and his wife. Okay, also starring Raul Julia. Okay, number 3. What Harry Potter director also directed 4 Weddings and a Funeral?
Oh. What's his name? Is it Yates?
Is that your answer?
Yeah, sure.
It was Mike Newell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He directed
Second? No,
Harry.
no, that was a class.
Yeah, he got Chris Columbus did the first 2 and was Alfonso Cuarón did 3. He did 4.
Oh, okay, he did 4.
Yeah, he did 4 Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. Goblet of Fire, yep. Okay, moving on to our 4th question. What actor, since I know you're a fan of this film, what actor died during the filming of Gladiator?
What actor died during the filming of Gladiator?
Yeah.
And that was, I just got to remember his name. God. Tweed, something like that.
That was Oliver Reed.
Oliver Reed. Jesus.
I thought you might get that one because
Yeah, no, I know it.
to picture his face, you can't remember the name. Okay, and the final question is a James Bond question. What type of gun does James Bond use? It's mentioned many times.
Walter PK.
I'll give you that. It's actually a Walter PPK.
PPK, yeah.
It's close enough. Right. That's 2 for Gavin.
Oh, bad.
Was that too hard? Might have been too hard.
No, I just couldn't remember his name.
Okay, so let's see how I go. See if I can pull back some of that lead that Gavin has right now.
Okay, what colour is Spock's blood?
Fox blood.
Spock's
blood. You green-blooded Vulcan.
Hobgoblin. Okay, number 2. Gene Hackman played Sheriff Big Whiskey in what movie?
Sheriff Big Whiskey. Unforgiven?
Little Bill. Who starred as Daisy in The Great Gatsby 1974 version?
Mia Farrow. That's just out of the blue.
Correct.
What?
Let's see who it is.
How did I guess that one?
How many roles did Peter Sellers play in the movie Doctor Strangelove?
Ooh, gosh. That's a good question. I gotta go tell you, that Mia Farrow one I just pulled out of my butt.
Yeah, he must have known something.
No, I didn't. I don't know why I said Mia Farrow anyway. Dr. Strangelove. Well, at least I know it's going to be a number. 12?
He plays 2. He plays the president in Doctor Strange. What real life person in the movie Citizen Kane believed... What real life person in the movie Citizen Kane is it believed to be based on?
Randolph Hearst.
Yes, William Randolph Hearst. Correct. That's 3? 4. No, 4. Nice.
Oh, jeez. I don't know how I got Mia Farrow, as I say. I must know that from somewhere. Well, anyway, that was lucky. But that means that I've just managed to pull ahead of Gavin now. Currently, the score is 6-5. So it's very, very close.
Reed one. Just can't remember his name.
Yes. The thing was on the tip of your tongue.
Yeah.
I actually thought you might say Christopher Reeve there for a little bit.
I was thinking Tweed. It's something like that. Tweed.
So close. Okay. Well, that's the end of our show.
Yeah. That was a good show.
It went by so quickly. Certainly a lot of things to think about for next week. We've got some movies coming up pretty soon. And hopefully I'll bring you my review of just a quick review, because Gavin's done a pretty thorough review of a Suicide Squad. So it'll be more of a feeling about it, maybe a few comments about that. I'll fit those in. And because I need to give you my rating. That's very important so that you can see what we each think of this movie. Hopefully I'll also be able to see our story, the story of our song.
Yeah, looks pretty good.
Yeah, I try to see New Zealand movies. But unfortunately that's the end of our show. Gavin, any last words?
No. Hey, just go see a few of those movies we were talking about. Some of those Kiwi stuff. It's they're great movies. Support your country. Support locally made film.
Yeah, I want to just end on saying that don't let reviews change your mind about whether you're going to see a movie. If you think that you like the people in it, or if you get a good vibe about it, go see that movie. So speaking of Suicide Squad especially, because I'm hopefully people won't be turned off from that movie. From what Gavin says, it's definitely worthwhile seeing. You will get your money's worth.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well that's bye for me, and
don't forget, leave your comments, find us on the YouTube channel, subscribe, like, do all those good things, and just tell us what you think. But good and bad, it's all good.
Also, questions. We want your questions so that we can answer them next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, peace.
See you later.